ex would yell at me every single time I wanted to go out. If you were in a relationship like this, get the F out of there. Anyways, he basically yelled at me every single time that I wanted to go out besides this one time, and I thought it was super weird because obviously I was condemned for wanting to have fun. I was a freshman in college and I am now 24, so that was a very long time ago. It was my friend's birthday and we had this whole thing planned to go out to this club by our school and to just have a good time with everybody. I was preparing for the worst because obviously I don't want to fight, but I went and told him and I was like, it's my friend's birthday, it's like one of the last nights of college, like I really want to go out. I mean, I wasn't asking, I was telling because I'm not that girl, and I was preparing for him to throw a tantrum. And he goes, okay. I was like, okay. I'm like, are you gonna be mad at me later? And he's like, no. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. I'm like, what happened to my toxic boyfriend that would literally cry and scream every single time I wanted to have fun? Where is he? He goes, actually, I'm going out tonight too. And I was like, oh, okay, that's new, because he would never go out, and that's why he would hate when I went out and like had friends and actually wanted to have a good time, because who doesn't? I was like, yeah, okay, go have fun. I literally did not care. I was like, go have fun, stop worrying about me. Meanwhile, he was the one that cheated on me. So he says that this girl from our high school is coming up to visit him for the night along with his other friend who was a guy. I knew this girl, they were friends for a long time. I never thought anything of it. I didn't see this girl as a threat or anything like that. I was just like, all right, like, where is she sleeping? Like, that was my first question. He was like, her and his other friend, they're both gonna sleep in his bed, and then he was gonna sleep on the pull-out couch. What a gentleman. I was like, all right, whatever, I trust you for whatever reason. And we both went out, and I literally did not hear from him all night. Basically, I got home, he wasn't mad, which was obviously so weird. We never FaceTimed, which we usually would, and then I went to bed. And I was like, wow, this is such a great night, you know, maybe he's changing. Girl, be so for real. Obviously, I'm not stupid, and like, I thought of the possibility that they could have been, you know, hooking up or whatever it is, but I just really did not think that was gonna happen. Like, I know he cheated on me and whatever, but like, I just never saw her like that. A couple weeks go by, he returns to his normal state of him being jealous and crazy and whatever. And one of my friends says, hey, are you still with blah blah blah, his name? She was like, oh. And I was like, why? Like, what's going on? I literally went through so much trauma with this man that I was like, what is happening now? She was like, well, one of my friends was Snapchatting the girl that he had over, and her friend said to this girl over Snapchat and asked her, how was the sex? She responds and says, actually pretty good. So right after I heard what she said, I immediately went to the bathroom right outside my dorm. That's like literally where I would always fight with him because I didn't want my roommates to like think I was crazy. And I called him. Obviously, when I heard this information, I was very upset, but I was not shocked because this man has cheated on me probably multiple times at this point. I only knew about one other time that he cheated on me, and this time was basically the second time that I had, you know, heard something. Actually, no. I've heard so many things about this kid when I was dating him, and I was like, oh no, I mean, they can't be true, like whatever. Because it was coming from the girl that he cheated on me with, so I was like, oh, this girl was kind of crazy, but like, I don't know. If you want to hear that story, let me know. So I called this dude up, and I'm like, yo, I heard all of this information, I know everything that you did, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, that's why you weren't caring that I went out and I had a good time, because you were fucking some bitch. Like, she's not a bitch, but you know what I mean. He starts yelling at me because I accused him of cheating on me for probably like the 100th time. And he was like, are you kidding me? Why would you believe that? Why would you believe somebody else's words over your own boyfriend, over mine, blah, 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 blah. He told me a few things. First, he yelled at me and he was like, you think you're the most perfect person ever, but you're not. And you think I'm the worst person ever. Like, be for real, bro. Like, you're the one that's literally cheating on me right now. Like, what? He was like, well, the girl and my friend, they actually were into each other and they were actually hooking up. It wasn't me. They had my bed and I was on the couch. Which, you know, could have been true, but I mean, with his track record, I really don't think that was true. But if that was true, wouldn't you think he would lead with that information right when I called him? Or don't you think, like, he would have been like, oh my god, like, here's the tea, like, they, like, hooked up. Like, Ugh. It honestly makes me really sad that I had to go through that at a time in my life, even though it kind of was a short period. It's still traumatic, and if you are in a relationship like this, you need to get out. I promise you, there's better people out there, and overall, you'll just feel 100% better. But do you guys think he's lying?
Ready with me as I tell you how my friends and I changed our lives pretty much overnight. So this all started about a year ago when my friends and I had been in our new city for about 9 or 10 months, and everything had kind of started to change. Some of my friends were getting boyfriends, some of my friends were getting new jobs, some of my friends were about to be traveling for 2-3 months, and my friend Megan kept using the phrase, new characters unlocked, new plot lines unlocked, and we started kind of acting like we were in a TV show because it felt like we were in a season finale. Everything was changing. So we just kept making jokes about how we were in the second season of our TV show in our new city. And after the summer was over, we felt like we were moving into season 3, and that's when things really took off. I was explaining season 3 to my best friend Libby, and she asked me to make her a Pinterest board to really kind of explain what a season 3 girl would be like. So we decided our inspiration was going to be Serena Vanderwoodson and Carrie Bradshaw, and we were just going to have the most fun, iconic season 3 ever. We were going to do things we would never normally do, and we created this Pinterest board where we just pretty much manifested all of these things to come into our lives. We just kept asking ourselves, what would a season 3 girl do? And we had this newfound confidence because we were just acting like we were in a TV show. And so if something went poorly, it was for the plot. And if something went well, it was all because of this new, like, fake confidence that we had. From that confidence, we got upgraded to first class on various flights. We got invited into Nobu. We got invited to hotel openings. Just crazy things that had never happened to us before. It was just kind of this aura of fake it till you make it, but it was working. We always had a new story. There was always something crazy happening. One time I was at a rooftop bar, and this bartender brought I asked for a lime wedge on my Cosmo, and he brought it to me on his knees. I was like, this is the epitome of season 3 right here. This would have never happened to me beforehand. We built confidence by disguising it as this little game of like what a season 3 girl would do, but it worked, and our lives got so much more interesting. Opportunities came our way, people came our way, and life was just so fun and exciting and iconic, honestly.
This is the story of the time I went on a frat formal as someone that was not in Greek life. I had the absolute worst time of my life. And this isn't gonna be a video where I'm just like throwing digs at Greek life. The guy just really sucked. It's a longer story, but it's funny, bear with me. Okay, so it was this guy who was a frat boy. I mean, he was in Pike, I think. I don't know much, but maybe that tells you all you need to know. I was just like excited to hang out with him. I realized I had never met his friends. He never really met mine. Like, girl, do the math. And he asked me if I'm busy one weekend and if I'd like to go to his fraternity formal in Nashville. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that sounds so fun. Like, I'm pretty outgoing. I don't think I really know anyone else that would be going, but like, I can make friends. And I was like, oh my God, he's asking me to his formal. He must really like me. Anyways, so I start asking, like, what do I need to do? I go shopping for dresses. I get like 3 dresses. Looking back, they were all so ugly. I didn't know the vibe. Like, I had never done this before. And he's like, okay, so the girl makes the cooler and like gets the alcohol. Mind you, this is University of Cincinnati. Like, this is not the South. I feel like maybe the cooler thing's like a Southern thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I buy way too much alcohol. Like, so much, to the point where when I show him, he's like, oh wow, okay, that's a lot. But first things first, I am in design school. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on me as a design school kid to make like this really nice cooler. I didn't know that everyone just like Mod Podge things onto coolers. Like, there's minimum painting, creative aspect going on. I spend hours and hours on this cooler for this boy, like personalized it. Like, he loved Chipotle, so I did like the Chipotle logo, but it was his last name on the top, like painting like Jack Daniels bottles on the side. There's girls over there, like, they just Mod Podge the out of those things. So I was like, number one, okay, like, what am I doing? So we take a bus, because Cincinnati, Nashville, like, not too far, doable, right? I get on the bus with him, and he's like, so, it's tradition that every time I go on this bus, I drink a whole bottle of Southern Comfort, or like Handle, or something. It was a big one. And I'm like, okay, I'm not in frat life, like, maybe that's normal. Maybe he just drinks a lot, and that's, like, normal for him. Because, again, we hadn't been to the bars together before. I know. So, you know, we're going through the ride. I'm kind of talking to people, but it was kind of awkward because the girls would talk to me and they'd be like, oh, what sorority are you in? I'd be like, oh, I'm not in one. And you could tell they kind of just, like, didn't know what to do with the conversation after that. There was, like, a couple girls that were really nice. It was something where I get it. Like, I didn't know them. They were there to, like, have fun with the people they knew. All of a sudden, I'm like, I think this man is drunk. This man is drunk. How do I know? We stop at a Wendy's. This man's best friend, his name was TJ. That matters. Okay, TJ comes back later. We're in line ordering at this Kentucky Wendy's with families in it. I order a baked potato. And these baked potato lovers stand up, stand up. And he looks at me and he's like, where the fuck is TJ? I'm like, I don't know if he's not in here. Maybe he went back to the bus. And this man screams at me, well, you're fucking worthless. Sir, not only is there a family here, but, like, that's so embarrassing. And so some, like, the girls and, like, some of the guys look at me and they're just like, and I'm like, ooh, okay, this is gonna be a long weekend. If I remember correctly too, like, we were sitting there eating and he, like, accidentally, like, he, like, flipped his hand and it, like, knocked over my baked potato. So I was like, oh, God, not my baked potato. Whatever, we get to the hotel, we get started. This man is, like, so drunk that he's like, I'm hungover now. He's like, I don't want to go out. I'm like, okay, so I order us a pizza, whatever. We just, like, hang out in the room while, like, all of his friends and everyone, they're all out and about. But I'm like, okay, let's rest up for tomorrow. Tomorrow's the formal. They had, like, a brunch. Again, I just, like, didn't really know who to talk to. So I was like, all right, I kind of, you know, you start feeling, like, small. Like, you're kind of like, I don't want to be here. I wish I had a friend with me. Pre-game goes fine. We get there. I give them my ID. They put an X because he was like, don't do fake ID. Like, they'll catch it. Give me your, so I get an X. He gets an X. Halfway through, friend TJ from earlier, who's 21, gets him a drink and gives it to him. Little did we know, or he know, that the alcoholic drinks were, like, a little bit smaller than the regular cups. So I'm coming out of the bathroom and I just see him getting kicked out. He's kicked out. He is most definitely gone. I'm like, what the, that's the only person I really know here to talk to. Just start, like, sitting at a table and I'm texting him and I'm like, what happened? What are you gonna do? Like, should I leave? And he's like, no, don't leave. I'm gonna go back. He showed up in, like, a tux and with a beard. So he's like, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna shave my face and I'm gonna put on different clothes. And he did. And it worked and he got in. So props to him. Got in during the awards. He proceeded to win the Drunk of the Year award with TJ, which I was like, shout out, you guys, whatever, that's funny, you're in a frat, I don't know, do your thing, no hate. And then he got another award, and the award was for pull and tail. And I looked at one of his friends, I'm like, what does that even mean? And he was like, don't worry about it, don't look it up. And I'm like, I'm gonna look it up. And then I look it up and I'm like, this is so embarrassing to be here right now. Formal ends, you know, I'm like, wow, that wasn't the best time. Go out to the bars, we'll have some fun. We go out to the bar, we're using our fake IDs. I give them my fake ID, they ask me my astrology sign. And I, like, did not know anything about astrology at this time, so I was, and I'm March 22nd, so I'm right on the cusp. I was like, Pisces? Like, oh, sorry, Aries? And then you can tell the guy is just like, go in. Which, like, I just genuinely didn't know it was Pisces. Anyways, he goes, and they say, do your signature. And he does, and it's not even close to what's on his ID, so they're like, no, we're taking it, and you're gone. That was his only ID. So he gets kicked out, and I'm like, well, what do I do? And he's like, well, come back with me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. Like, I don't really know anyone else here, so what else would I do? So I go back, you know, realize, like, okay, this isn't going anywhere, and this guy kind of sucks. I spent all this money on alcohol and painted this stupid cooler, which people did say it was a good cooler, so, like, good for me. But we got back, and I was like, okay, I want my earrings back from your place. Please put them in my mailbox. And I don't really want to talk to you again. Like, is this going anywhere? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, all right, never mind. Like, I think I sent, like, a very unserious text where I'm like, what's going on? With like a bunch of emojis, like, are we trying to date? And he's like, what? And I was like, this is completely embarrassing. So that was the only time I went to a formal or any kind of Greek life event, and I never went to another.
I heard we're talking about things that our exes did and we stayed, and I have some good ones, so buckle up. Some of y'all might look at me differently after this, so I need to give you a disclaimer that I was 15, young and dumb. We're gonna start at my sweet 16. All night I noticed he was very close to one of my best friends, and I noticed her like have that awkward face of like, okay, like, aren't you Malia's boyfriend? Why are you all up on me? And she kept removing herself, and then he kept going and checking on her. And then at the end of the night, we were all taking pictures, and of course I wanted a picture with him. My phone's dead by the end of the night, so I take his phone to look at the pictures that we just took, and there's a bunch of notifications on Snapchat from an account that just had the unicorn emoji. So what do you do in that moment? You check the messages. I open the Snapchat messages, and the last thing he said was, love you, I'll text you after I get off work. Work is crazy because not only did this man not have a job and I had to pay for everything, but you're at my sweet 16. He was 2 years older than me, by the way, so he was 18. Should have had a job. It's like I have to do my brows first, but then I end up messing them up later on in my makeup routine. So I hand him the phone back, I show him what I saw, and I just like walk away. Later that night, once everybody went home, we fought about it. He tells me that he was trying to get at this girl because her father worked at a car dealership and he wanted a good deal on a car. And I stayed. Little old 16-year-old Malia. Oh, the dad's gonna give you a car for free. Perfect. What? Oh, and of course, after the party was over, me and my friend were talking shit about him and how he was flirting with her the entire night. And when I confronted him about that, he said, well, she didn't know anybody else there. I wanted her to feel comfortable. So you made her feel uncomfortable in the process. Let's just move on. There was a whole lot more stupidity. Now, we did go to different schools. So I could tell you about the time he told me he couldn't bring guests to winter formal. And then all of a sudden there ended up being pictures of him and another girl matching at winter formal on the other girl's Instagram. But that's too basic. But I stayed. Let's bring it back to the first 2 weeks of us talking. He basically told me that him and his ex bonded over cancer because he had fought cancer when he was younger. And that she would always have to be in his life because she was there for him through that time in his life. When he told me this, I was so stuck on like, you battled cancer, like tell me more, like I didn't know this about you. And I was kind of just writing off the ex part. I was like, well, that makes sense, sure, fine. That conversation led us to start talking about religion and how we are both Christians. And that after his battle with cancer, he made a promise to God that he would not have sex before marriage. At this point, I'm a 15-year-old virgin who's already dating someone older than me. I was very moldable. So like whatever he said went, and he said no sex till marriage. If anything, I just felt less pressured. So I was all for it. My mom told me you have sex, you get pregnant. And so I was kind of scared regardless. This is when it starts to feel like Risa Tisa part 2. Y'all are gonna wanna jump through the phone and slap me. When he moved schools, I kind of remember his friends changing up on me and them kind of like looking at me like, girl, run. But in my head, I was just like, they want me. But a year goes by, we've been together, and then it's like a year and a half. We've never had sex. We genuinely never even got close to it. The most we ever did was like make out. In that year and some change that we were together, this man had sexual relations with over 10 women. And I had no clue. That literally all came out once we broke up. But nobody wanted to tell me, they just wanted to look at me crazy. There definitely were signs that I was just ignoring. Like, I think I went over to his house to ask him to like the girls ask guys dance. And I had a poster and everything. And I was like, come outside. And he's like, I can't. You're here. What's going on? I was honestly so blinded by like an older boy. He was on the football team. He was on the track team. He liked me. I was a cheerleader. I was like living in this High School Musical fantasy and I did not care, I guess. I don't know. Him choosing to have sex with a bunch of people but me did mess me up for a very long time. But it also made me hold on to my V card very tight and I was gonna decide when I gave it up. I could easily do a part 2, but I think I've embarrassed myself on the internet enough for today. I was gonna say the crazy part to this story, but I think the whole story has been crazy. Like, I feel like if I tell you that he broke up with me in a text that ended in, "Don't call me because I don't want to hear you cry," you wouldn't be shocked. Believe it or not, me and his ex actually became friends after we broke up because I needed someone to trauma bond with. The first thing out of her mouth when we finally talked was, "He told you he had cancer, huh?" Up until that moment, I thought he had fought cancer.
I don't know what mother you have, but mine is Algerian, and I'm not sure where you got yours from, but if you're familiar with this prototype, the Algerian prototype, you know for a fact that they do not come with a emotional setting. Yeah, very few do. That's like the upgrade. But in general, the standard setting is just emotionless. And by emotionless, I mean affection-wise. You know, she doesn't feel affection. When it comes to anger or disappointment, they make sure to, you know, they have that Pro Max. I want to give you a story time of when I told my mother that I loved her. That day felt very dystopian, and to be honest, I don't remember much from it, but I do remember saying it, which opened the door to the whole emotional upgrade. So one day, I just decided to face my mother about all my traumas and everything that I lived with her and all the stuff that she did to me that I thought was from, I don't know actually, which is kind of dumb. I thought she hated me or whatever, but she doesn't. No mother does. Well, the majority, some actually do, and that's pathological. But the normality is that they don't. They just do it because either they're traumatized, that's their only way of loving, or they don't know better because deep down they want your best. So go give your mama a hug. Either way, going back to the story. So I did face my mother and I'm like, yeah, that's what happened. And slowly but surely, as I grew older, I'm like, okay, I've got, you know, confidence in my life, in what I'm saying. I'm an adult now ish. I can express my feelings, which I did. And then one day I decided to drop the L word, not the lesbian word, but like the love word, which is kind of more rare to hear in a Muslim country. So I'm like, mama. It's just like, that's, if you don't know, that's like the most neutral way you can respond. I'm like, je t'aime. Just kind of like, I love you. And she, like, that felt dystopian. She was like, I could see her malfunction and I could see like the wheels in her brain processing this information because she never heard it before. Not from adult me, at least. She's like, oh, see. She literally, for those who don't speak French, or déjà, she literally said two. Not even me too, just two. And I'm like, yes, I can work with that. I can definitely work with that. And then from then on, I started just go and hug her. Physical touch. Let me tell you. If you never have physical touch with your mother and then you just decide to start having physical touch with your mother, like hugging her and kissing her, that is a life risk. Just so you know, that risk, you're gonna take it with your life because she will push you away. She'll be like, no, that tickles. Nah. I was shoved. Well, that's basically it. I was just shoved. I'm not gonna lie. But, you know, there was progress. Slowly but surely, she'll stop feeling ticklish. Surely but sure, she's like, just like gives in. You know, first one is denial. Second one is dealing with it. And third one is acceptance. And she might give you a tap on the shoulder. But you gotta be patient. You gotta be patient with them. I'm telling you, non-outerly affectionate mothers take time to break. They're like very shy specimen. It's like dealing with a toddler. But you'll get there. You'll definitely get there. And then slowly but surely, I combine the physical touch with the words of affirmation. And I'm just like slowly merging it into this mushy substance that I keep feeding her. Slowly but surely, she's like, me too, when I say I love you. And there's like, love you too. And then she said, I love you too. And I'm like, whoop, 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 taking this win. Granted, the only time she initiated the physical touch or hug is either when I'm leaving the freaking country or like having a life devastating event. Mama, did you do this? Oh my god, look at that glow. Wow. However, she did initiate it, you know? So a win is a win. I'm gonna take that. So my advice is be nicer to your mama. You know, if she's harsh and she doesn't know how to express love, it's more likely because life made her that way and no one expressed it for her that way. So go hug your mom, go give her a kiss, go just tell her you love her and see her malfunction.
So I accidentally came out to my mom. Well, she more so just kind of found out about it and confronted me about it, but let's just start from the beginning. I knew that my feelings towards Demi Lovato were a little bit weird. I don't know, one day it just kind of hit me that I didn't want to be her. I wanted to be with her. It was a little scary at first, but once I started to come to terms with it, I sent out my little paragraphs to everybody coming out being like, hey, like, I'm bisexual. I think I like men and women. And everybody was really supportive. Nobody really gave a fuck. I only told my friends and like my stepsister. I did not want to tell my family. My family's not super homophobic or anything. I don't know. It's just the thought of coming out was really scary to me. So let's fast forward to 8th grade. I finally get my first girlfriend and like I'm head over heels, bitch. She was a literal definition of perfect to me. She was a cute little white girl that was like going through her emo phase the same time that I was. At first my mom didn't really think anything of it. Like she's just happy that like I'm finally having a friend. But eventually obviously it started getting to the point where all I wanted to do was spend my time with this girl. We were constantly having sleepovers, constantly talking to each other on the phone. So my mom, you know, she kind of like gave me a little side-eye moment. So eventually my girlfriend comes to me and she's like, hey, like I think I'm gonna cut off my hair. And I'm all for it. I'm like, okay, you do you, whatever, that's cool. But I'm like kind of confused because the bitch just cut her hair in a tuba bob. Like, how much shorter are you gonna go? But then she proceeds to tell me that she's gonna do a pixie cut. And that's when I started to worry. Not because I think it's gonna be ugly or anything, but it's because I know how my mom is. She's the type of person that stereotypes, right? So if she sees a pixie cut, she's gonna be like, oh, she gay. And that's basically what happened. Obviously now my mom's catching on. And every time I wanna go see my girlfriend, my mom always has to make a comment like, oh, you wanna go see your little girlfriend? Like, you miss your little girlfriend? And bitch, obviously, like, I'm just like laughing, playing it off. Like, no, like, she's my friend, haha. A little stormy appearance. So eventually my mom does sit me down and basically just asked me like, are you gay? Which I about had a heart attack, okay? And I basically just explained to her like, no, I'm bisexual, I like men and women. Then she told me that she only had 2 questions for me. So the first question was, what do I prefer, men or women? I told her like, I prefer men, I'm just with a girl right now. And then she asked me which Kardashian I prefer, and I told her like, Kylie, I guess. And she was like, okay, good choice. So we just kind of left it at that. And then my girlfriend cheated on me not too long after that, and then we broke up and it was a whole thing. But yeah, we cool now though. Anyways, here's a look. I'm running late.
One of my friends told me I was too ugly to be dating my boyfriend. Story time. Just a little pre-warning, prepare for the audacity. So a few years ago now, it was my friend's birthday party and we're all in her garden getting to know people because it was one of those where like there was friends from loads of different parts of her life. So I'm talking to this girl that I have never met before and I was telling them that I was going to have to leave shortly because I needed to go pick up my boyfriend because he'd just been in LA for work. And this girl, who we will call Amy, asks if she can see a picture of my boyfriend. And I will never not shout about my man, so I got up a picture of me and my Steve. This is where shit gets a little bit crazy. She looks at the phone, she looks back up at me, then looks back at the phone and goes, you're dating him? Big emphasis on the you're. Listen, immediately I knew what she was implying. My boyfriend is a solid 11 out of 10. And it's very clear that she was telling me this to make me feel less than perfect. But it gets worse. So the picture that I had showed her was on Instagram and she starts scrolling through all of my pictures. So she finds this picture of me doing the splits on a beach. I've grown up dancing, I did gymnastics when I was younger, so I'm naturally very flexible. She then looks me dead in the eye and goes, oh, that's why he's with you. So now not only is she making me feel like I'm not pretty enough to be with my boyfriend, she's also implying that he was only with me because I'm flexible and that would be a better time for him. Did this make me feel like shit in the moment? Yes. So actually, we went to my best friend's recent birthday party and I turned up with my now husband, the same guy, and Amy was there. Turns out Amy got divorced. Husband cheated on her with a model. Maybe it's because she wasn't flexible enough.